Hey friends, it's Allison here, jumping in real quick before you get into all the juicy details of today's episode. Did you know there is just one more week left to our 200th episode giveaway where you have the chance to win a full ride scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint? This is the way to heal your gut so that you can poop daily, ditch acid reflux, and balance your hormones even when nothing else has worked. Here's how you can enter. Leave a rating and review on the Better Belly podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify between now and May 29th. Take a screenshot of that rating and review, then go to betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway and fill out our 200th episode giveaway form. You will automatically receive an email with a code for $200 off the Better Belly Blueprint, which you're going to get as soon as you send in that form. And then a full scholarship winner is going to be announced on May 30th and messaged by email. If you win, you're going to win a full scholarship to the Better Belly Blueprint. And if you don't win, you can still get $200 off, which is 20% off of the Better Belly Blueprint if you join by May 31st at midnight. So go ahead and leave a rating and review. Get that giveaway form filled out at betterbellytherapies.com/giveaway, and you can finally end your constipation, acid reflux, and PMS for good. Eric is a 55-year-old male who, in the last year, suddenly developed bloating, abdominal pain, brain fog, and poor sleep. He's done all the conventional health steps for gut health problems. He's gone to his doctor, gotten conventional blood work testing, worked on stress and reduction and meditation, and even done the Low FODMAP diet. But his symptoms are still there. What is really going on in his health, and how can he truly get rid of his bloating, abdominal pain, and poor sleep while also getting off the Low FODMAP diet? Listen into this one-to-one coaching call session I had with Eric and learn the 4 steps I recommend to him to end his bloating and abdominal pain without needing to stay on the Low FODMAP diet. And if you are wanting my eyes on your health, you can book your own one-to-one coaching call session with me by going to betterbellytherapies.com/unstuck. That's betterbellytherapies.com/unstuck. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. Do you want freedom from bloating and constipation? Do you find yourself up late at night Googling natural constipation remedies, causes for bloating, or recipes and exercises to help constipation? Are you frustrated with the mind game of trying to figure out what foods are helping or hurting your gut? Hey, I'm Allison, mom, wife, and functional gut health practitioner. At a young age, bloating and constipation were my constants. I didn't know what to do and wished I could just live a normal life focusing on my passions, my job, and my family. I was tired of abdominal pain that woke me up at night and wasting time and money on gut health remedies that just didn't work. Breakthrough moment, the functional medicine and osteopathic approach to gut health. In this podcast, you will find natural remedies for bloating and constipation, practical, doable belly exercises and massages, and debunk the myths about what really is causing your tummy problems. So toss out those laxatives and say goodbye to that embarrassing gas. Your gut health is calling. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. All right, so here we have Eric on the podcast / maybe not the podcast. We'll see if this gets aired. Eric, thanks so much for joining today.
Thanks, Allison. I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. So, Eric, you joined today's call, and I'm just going to read out some of the things that you had shared that you have going on. You have bloating, you rated 8 out of 10 intensity, random abdominal cramping, kind of honestly throughout, you said stomach throughout colon, so a large part of your body or abdomen, a 7 out of 10, internal hemorrhoids, 6 out of 10, mental drain, 4 out of 10, and getting good sleep, 3 out of 10. Tell me, when did these symptoms begin for you?
They began December of 2022. I remember it specifically. There was a significant event which happened, which was stress related. I think maybe I even described it a little bit. But then, it just, as I became aware of it, this abdominal cramping and what's this bloating thing, then I just became, I think, more aware of what's going on with my system, thought about it more. And I think as being a person who tends to ruminate on things, I think that sort of started maybe a spiral down to a wrong place. And then I decided that, hey, it's time to seek some help from experts after, of course, going to my GP and talking to him a couple of times about it.
Did you get any additional testing from like in the conventional medicine side of things?
Yeah, so standard blood tests, whatever they may be,
Yeah.
and then standard, I guess, medications or treatments for gas and bloating, and the general advice, hey, maybe start to take a few things out of your diet and then see how that goes.
Yeah.
And I'm clueless now. I'm 55 years old now, and that's a tall order. I mean, eat about just everything, right? And it uh, I think it became obvious that it needs some real guidance and expertise.
Yeah. I'm guessing your blood test didn't show anything that they remarked on, or did they remark on anything at all?
No, nothing. They even there was is a pylorus or something like that
Yeah,
for
H.
some sort of
pylori.
H. pylori. They took a look at that, and there's nothing there. And so, actually, with the help of a dietitian, a nutritionist,
Mhm.
who put me on a FODMAP diet, there's
Right.
been some resolution of the symptoms. Certainly, bloating and the abdominal pain is really dissipated nicely, which is
Okay.
good. Yeah.
How would you rate those now, scale of 0 to 10 on a
Two,
date
two to
date?
three. Yeah,
Okay.
2 to 3. Yeah, and sometimes zero, right? Because it's just, I'm not fully compliant. I did FODMAP for 4 weeks, right?
Okay.
Or so. Kept a great food log, and I could share with you kind of what worked and what didn't. But of course, I just sort of rationalized in my head, oh, I'll try this again, and so it fluctuates a little bit now.
Okay. So you were on it like really solid for 4 weeks,
Yep.
and right now are you like not really on it at all, or are you kind of on it but then you cheat? Like how much or like
Yeah.
would you consider you're on the FODMAP diet right now?
I would say 80 to 85% on it, right?
Okay.
So the cheeses are coming back in, beer coming back in, though you could do the gluten-free beer. But I actually skipped ahead to your how to repair your gut. Was it 140?
Yeah.
And you talked about there. And I'm like, okay, that's probably not good to cheat beer back in. Stuff like that.
Sure.
Um, yeah. So I give myself a solid 85% on it.
Okay. All right. And you haven't gone back 100% at all. You haven't tried that.
No, I mean, like I think like sourdough bread is okay.
Mhm.
Also, I travel a lot, so it's just quite frankly impossible. It's just, I'm doing my best. Some of
Especially
your
for low
podcasts,
FODMAP. That's a hard one to travel
it's
with.
a hard one, right? Your podcasts are so cool. You talk about like, we're not perfect. And I'm like, I'm not perfect. And I'm not going to add to stress by not adhering to what somebody wrote on a piece of paper, which by the way changes. And bananas are on the do and do not list. So I'm like, it's not perfect. So I'm
Right.
doing the best I can, Allison.
Cool. Have you heard my podcast or any me talk about the low FODMAP diet and why it's not really
In
a
the
good
beginning,
long-term solution? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
then the fear of what to eat. I mean, it's sort of gripping my wife and I were empty nesters now. So like, what do we do? Or what can what can we have for dinner? So, which is a ridiculous way to live life.
Right, right. So the bloating and the abdominal cramping started December 2022. It's improved with the low FODMAP diet. Were the
Yep.
internal hemorrhoids already there at all and then like got exacerbated or anything else changed there?
Yeah, I think they've just been more persistent now. So
Okay.
it's been more difficult to. I'm pretty active. I'm not a marathon runner, but I do run, and have been more and more swimming and all that. Uh, so it's just sort of, I don't know. It's tricky to talk about, but it's something that is there, and maybe I'm just more aware of. I don't like to use too many treatments for it, but I like to be active. So it's something I'd like to understand. What's going on? What am I doing? I suspect that maybe around the liver tox, because I took your advice. I'm going to get the name wrong. You said to seek out cranial
therapy.
which I posted my first visit to this. I don't know if you took a look at it, but it was amazing.
I did. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And yeah, she's a smart lady. I was like, I like her notes. She's also a naturopathic doctor, it looks like.
Could be. I don't know.
Okay. I saw ND, which usually means that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She seems to be really in tune with what to do.
Yeah.
And pegged me right in the beginning. She's like, wow, you have a lot of energy. And we went sort of into the history of that, which I think, Allison, again, this seems weird to talk about as a older male, but I mean, stress has seeped into my life, and as you've said, like my cells in my body are remembering it. And I mentioned that December event, and it was at that point, it was like my body just said, like, dude, you need time out. Like you just can't keep cruising, doing all this travel, all this thinking of trying to help others, poor diet, blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah. And what might have happened, and that's what I'm trying to do on this call. So I don't want to just on the podcast, I just tell you what might be happening. This is like, here, there's actually a real person, Eric,
yes.
going on. So you've had craniosacral therapy once. Yes. Once. And did you notice any difference in your symptoms after that?
Slept great. Well, yes. I mean, I slept great, which was fun. I did notice fun. It is fun to have a good night's sleep. I did notice that there was a reduction in overall tension in my body.
Yeah.
I think it's called myofascial tissue or the connective
She
tissue.
talked to you about fascia. I saw her resources she shared with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, Pollock, Gerald Pollock, I believe is his first name. She shared that with you on like water in tissues and cells. Anyways, I love to read her resource. I was like, what a great lady. She's very she's knowledgeable in her work, which is great. Yeah. So she should talk to you about that and that tension.
Right. And actually, I listened for whatever, I think it's number 20, you talked about this lady C, and there was some sort of manipulation of her liver and loosening that up. And I'm like, I don't know if that happened, but that sounds kind of familiar with what was happening.
Sure.
Because I'm pretty tense, or I have a lot of tension in my system. So, and sometimes there's some twitching in the legs after a particularly long run or bike ride or something. And I'm like, if I can see that in my legs, that's probably happened in my whole body, including the inside stuff, I'm guessing.
It can, and it would show up in different ways and different symptoms, but twitching in legs can be a sign of lack of electrolytes. So if anything, I'm probably going to upload to your portal a potassium shot recipe. It's called a potassium shot. It's just like a small amount of liquid with some ingredients in it, which has sodium and potassium in it.
Right.
A lot of times people hear like magnesium can help muscle twitching, which it can. I'm curious, do you currently take anything like magnesium?
No, just one a day, vitamins, Centrum or whatever.
Okay.
Vitamin B Centrum. That's it.
Some multivitamin. Yes.
Some multivitamin. I think I take my wife's too. I figure they're interchangeable. Probably not, but
it's fine for our purposes. No, I'm not gonna there's nothing for me to rail on.
I am
going to
sign up for your liver detox. So that seemed like a really smart idea. Yeah.
But you haven't tried it yet.
Because there's some questions that you have to answer, and I didn't get a chance to get to it before I was at work. I listened to your podcast while I was putting this morning on a putting green.
I love it. I love it. That's the best part about podcasts is doing them anywhere.
Back and forth. You've traveled back and forth from Pasadena to Orange County several times.
I know. It warms my heart. I love. I listen to my own podcasts, and you're just like on like runs. It's like I trained through a marathon for that with that podcast.
Yeah, it's swimming too. So I got the you can download
special
them and
stuff.
do swimming.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, it's cool.
I love it. Well, let's get back to this. No, I love it. It's great when we connect. So I am gonna upload some magnesium and potassium, the potassium shot, which also includes sodium in it, just for your legs. But that can also make a big difference in your gut because it can cause abdominal spasms where the smooth muscle of your digestive tract, which automatically moves, like you don't tell it to move, but it will move when under certain circumstances. Usually when we say you're in rest and digest, so your like nervous system's like super chill, and then you'll get this movement, which we will often hear as like gurgling. Do you know, like, do you hear your stomach like,
Yes.
like, did it stop at all? Or I mean, has it always kind of gurgled? It never stopped.
It did stop. So
It did stop.
like,
Okay.
like when I decided to do something about this, this was the basic routine, right? So
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, feel pretty good, like everything's flat after a decent night's sleep, and then you have coffee, then go to the gym, have a few cups during the day, and then like Cheerios or something in the morning, lots of milk, and then notice this bloating start to happen over the course of the late morning through early afternoon. And then it was comical by the end of the afternoon, where I was like, geez, what's up with that? It was kind of funny. But then, after dinner or laying in bed, reading, I do read in bed, and you just hear the gurgling, just all the movement going around. And then eventually
Okay.
it would settle out. The FODMAP helped with that quite a bit. And then there was this other, I happened to read a book called Cleanse. I don't know the author. It was
Okay.
about a used bookstore. Anyway, the author's premise was really just to do like liquid diets in the morning and the evening, allow a 12-hour period between that last meal and then the breakfast to allow your body to cleanse itself through the liver. And I think all of that combined to really settle my system. Also removing alcohol, I think was good, because I think a pretty typical, at least for the people I hang out with.
There's alcohol involved.
Yeah, beers.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like beers while, I don't know, hanging out on the weekend or watching a game, whatever. It's just
Right.
it's like,
Right.
yeah,
But it's very stressful to the liver. And if your body's having other problems, it just adds and like can feed candida. So I'm still, I'll let you know, Eric. I'm postulating some possibilities of what happened or is happening, has
yeah.
happened. So I will let you know when I feel like I'm closer to something.
I can give you more data
Um,
if you want.
Oh, I'm going to ask a couple questions. So I'm going to finish craniosacral therapy you've had once. You slept great that night, felt a reduction in tension in your body. Any other improvements or changes that you saw after that?
What helps my mind is when I talk to the dietitian, when I talk to the cranial sacral, sorry, it doesn't roll off my tongue like it does yours, the therapist, and then while I'm talking to you, it just settles my mind to know that it's a community. I'm not alone doing this. So that actually helps.
Yeah,
I hate to overburden my wife talking about it, so
sure.
I've stopped there. So those are the real benefits. I think we've talked about the eventual, like you say, healing takes a while, right? It's a gradual process, and over 4 weeks, it really did help. And then until I mucked it up by, cheating.
Oh, I'm not
So
going to blame the low FODMAP. We're immediately taking with the fact that you improved with low FODMAP is great data, but it does not
yeah,
mean like you have to be it on the rest of your life.
okay,
And no.
okay, cool.
No. So the low FODMAP is it doesn't it says it can heal people. I've never seen it heal anyone. Now, that could just be that I'm talking to all the people who are like, I already tried it and it didn't like, but ultimately low FODMAP, literally the people who created it, who are actually in Australia, dietitians there, they created it for it to be a temporary diet program that should heal the gut, like a 2-month max type thing, and then slowly reintroduce foods. Their thought was you get rid of these foods that ferment in the gut. That's the F, fermentable, and then these different sugars. And they're like, okay, well, if you get rid of them long enough, you'll change the microbiome, and then you can reintroduce the foods, and you won't get the same symptoms. So it's like apparently that's worked for some people, but I have
Right.
so many people it doesn't work for, and all it tells me is, well, you have a problem with food fermenting in your gut. But that's like, it's not because the food is bad or because your gut is actually unfixable. It's because something has changed, usually change in digestive enzymes. You got 3 options: stomach acid, bile, or pancreatic enzymes. Could be one or could be multiple. Change in motility. how fast the food is moving through the gut. Now that is impacted by things like stress. If you are in fight and flight, really, really hardcore, the gut doesn't move. It's because your body's sending signals to go to send its energy elsewhere, and it's not to digestion. And that could have set up a chain reaction where then your microbiome shifts and maybe you get a pathogen overgrowth like candida, and your liver gets really burdened, and now you're like you're kind of like unclenching from like, if you ever do like a dead hang, right? And then you do it to your max and you get off the dead hang and your fingers don't want to uncurl and you have to like uncurl them, right? Like your body's like, okay, this thing happened to us, and your brain knows that thing in December 2022. Like, I don't know if you're still grieving or like the components of it, but other than the fact that maybe it's like in the past, the rest of your body's like, but either the rest of your body hasn't caught up, or like it still thinks it's there. So there's still maybe like residual fight and flight, or maybe the fight and flight's like, I don't know, like the way it used to be, but you have changed something that we then need to actively do to reverse. So maybe you have like a little bit of candida overgrowth and your immune system's like, well, we actually can't reverse it on our own. So we'll like help you. But I'm listening, trying to figure out, is it just like some motility thing? And if we just give you a gentle push with your liver detox and maybe some minerals, so like the sodium, potassium, magnesium also helps the gut move. So that would help things not ferment in your gut, which is a great thing. Like, is it just that? The other things that we see with stress, like really high stress situations, is sometimes they can actually trigger genetic predispositions that weren't manifesting prior to that date. And as we get older, we just accumulate things that are stressful. Everything from like COVID is a stressor, pneumonia is a stressor. Like I guess the psychological stressor of COVID is a thing too. But stressors accumulate and then our cells get older. So as we get older, we have more opportunity to manifest maybe a different, like maybe your body had a genetic predisposition to gluten sensitivity that hadn't like switched on until this winter 2022 thing. But it's not like all the FODMAPs in the world are going to be problems for you, right? It just means you have a fermenting problem in your gut. And we now know that because when you avoid fermenting foods, you feel better.
Right. Yeah. So, thank you very much. That's very helpful. I had a question in there, but I didn't want to slow.
I know. I had like a little.
No, it was really good I'll just leave it. It'll come back if it's important.
It will. Cool.
Oh, here it is. So like the December 22 thing.
Yeah.
Really, it was just sort of an event which marked the accumulation of all sorts of other stuff. Okay. Right. Of equal. Okay. Equal or just about that level of stuff, sort of cumulative stress, personal, work, environmental stuff like that, traveling. Yeah. So anyway.
Do you feel like, and because I'm thinking about just your whole body with that accumulation and that moment. So like maybe it was I'm not saying this is what it is, and we don't actually need to know, but something like a panic attack or something, like you like had a breakdown or a meltdown, all the things that accumulated to that led to it. Are you dealing with those things, that whether it's like, okay, yeah, that thing's not helping me, we're dealing with it or taking out, are they still kind of there?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was the events were deaths of friends, of a friend, a family member that got really hurt, and then a few other similar type of stresses, burdens from, family type of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Which just, time heals that as well. But combined with poor diets like I had, and probably still have, but traveling and just getting older, I think that was it. It was like the catalyst. It was like, when does ice actually freeze? What temperature does, I know what temperature it occurs, but ice eventually goes from liquid to solid. That was that crystallization for me. Yeah.
Yeah. You could have been at like 31 degrees Fahrenheit.
31.999, right.
And then it's like, I mean, except for we know
that go the other way. Sorry.
Loss of loved ones. Yeah, loss of loved ones. There's this scale I always forget the two psychologists who developed it, but this scale of stressors based off of change, and they figure out what are the most stressful things that can happen to us, and they like if you can like literally download it online, it's like it'll show you like the top 20, and there's stuff like moving, starting
Oh,
schooling or
right.
education.
New
But then
jobs.
I think like the hardest thing would be loss of a spouse, but loss of other loved ones like pets and friends are also in like the top 10. So even that is like just like it the just to honor that, like, and it doesn't change, like the kind of good news is that it's not ongoing in the sense of our bodies adjust, but just honoring the fact that when it those things do happen, and like several of them happened at once, our brains, how do I get into this? We develop these network and chains of what feels normal and what is, where do we get our comfort? Where do we get our sense of normalcy? And when those get broken, it is the same, if not more. Like literally they've done brain scans of like emotional pain, and it registers in the same areas as physical pain in our bodies.
So it
Um,
inflames your brain then, same way?
I don't know if inflamed is the best word. I'm not, don't know if I'm like that, but I know that when they do scans and it lights it up. So when they do brain
Okay.
scans,
Activity.
the activity is usually increased blood flow and neuron firing that they're evaluating.
Okay.
It's the same areas that we are registering physical pain that light up. So, this wasn't what happened to you, but like, if you remember the pain of a breakup,
Yeah.
like college or high school or whatever, and it like hurts. Like I'm in like pain. Like there's like this weird achy pain to it, and that is because of those changes, those bonds being broken. It causes us
Wow.
humans physical pain. Anyways, like just honoring that
Okay.
could have created a chain reaction in your biology. And like I said, my goal is to help either figure out what hasn't reverted back and help it do that. And then anything that
Okay.
has changed irrevocably, like if you have turned on a gluten sensitivity gene that just wasn't on before, that we figure out what your new norm is. And then,
Okay.
but like, it's not like there's no low FODMAP gene, like
Yeah.
that we know of yet, that I've seen. Um,
Nobody wants
so
that gene.
this is what I'm piecing together from our conversation. There's some like there's some simple basic stuff you could do. The liver
Can I give you
detox.
two more data points, maybe?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so out of that whole, because I spent a long time on it, there's the sort of the flare-ups thing. So some cheeses, cheeses like sugar, uh, yogurt, and like let's see, peanut butter, all sort of seem to give like a hard sort of like make the stomach really sort of turn and tighten up. I could feel it.
Yeah.
So
What about, do you
and
eat any other
salmon
fermented
made great.
foods? Salmon, you said?
Salmon was great.
Oh, it was
Salmon and
great.
green beans, great.
What
Yeah.
about anything like kombucha or kimchi
Yes.
that's fermented?
I did. I tried kombucha with that, and it had chia seeds in it,
Yeah.
and that also had the same effect actually. It's
Of the
interesting
bloating.
you have to. Yeah, just the tightness. The bloating's pretty much gone. It's just like
Okay.
there's gas going on, but it's not correlating to bloating for some
So when
reason.
you say tightness and when you say bloating, are one of them like you're Matt, one of them to you means like your belly protruding and the tightness is like
This
just a physical
distends,
feeling?
right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to use, for the sake of what I've seen, um, still be clinically correlating. Both are actually the same process to me
Okay,
when I've seen clinical correlation, because I have clients who don't get the distension, but it's still clearly like caused by the same thing as, so I use the word interchangeably. So hopefully I don't confuse you too much.
not
Um,
anymore. You're good.
okay. That's I mean, I don't know how many other things you would have tested that are fermented, but like anything genuinely fermented that like, because yogurt's fermented, but so is kimchi. If you ever eat like truly fermented kimchi or truly fermented sauerkraut, it's different than if it's like just vinegar.
Yeah.
But sauerkraut, anything there?
I haven't. Now you make me want to have sauerkraut because that's good on a hot dog. But
It is so good. You might bloat up with it based off of what you just told me. all
Okay.
these ingredients, other than peanut butter sounds a little bit more possible. Like, have you heard me on my podcast talk about how you can develop food sensitivities
Yes.
through leaky gut? Okay. Like peanut butter might be
That's what
fault.
I suspect. When you've talked all about that, I haven't gotten to the resolution of that because I'm too early on. But I'm like, that's an aha. That and the liver
Aha.
thing.
Yes. Yeah. Peanut butter might fall into that, but everything else you just mentioned, cheese, sugar, especially sugar, yogurt, and kombucha slash chia seeds, all when you eat those and then have problems are all big signs of candida. Because candida, it's a yeast and it loves sugar. That's like yeast is how we get bread to rise. We give it sugar. Yeast is how we get beer to like a weedy water to ferment, and that's when it becomes beer, and we call it
I
alcohol,
love weedy
right?
water.
I know. So I'm like, who thought that was a great idea? Wine is like grape juice, sugar, and then it ferments and it becomes wine. So it sounds to me like you have candida going on in your gut. Though we always want to ask why. I would recommend just thinking of tests. I'm a little torn. Candida doesn't show up great on the GI map, but I love the GI map because it also just does a great scan for like things like H. pylori, which if you have sets you up for candida. So yeah, I'd say GI map. Oat
Okay.
test also is a great scan for candida, but also can look for mold. You're not sounding like a huge mold candidate, but it's a better candida test and it can tell you other useful things like oxalates. But if you only did one, I would do the GI map. Um, Otherwise, do both. Uh, Other than candida, HTMA, just to get a look at your minerals. I want to see
Hmm.
how far off your minerals are. Like, is your hair telling us like, wow, you really don't have any sodium in your body? Like, how far off are you?
Yeah.
Or are you pretty good and we just need to do a little bit of supplementation? And a food sensitivity test. Specifically, I'd love to do the Zoomer. I'd recommend that. It's a finger prick blood test, so you don't have to even like go anywhere to get anything done. And look at wheat in a really deep way, look at dairy in a really deep way, look at corn and rice, and then get a bunch of foods that are temporary food sensitivities. And that's all in that one test. So
Okay.
those would be 4 great tests to clarify stuff. So you're not like just sitting around wondering. To me, it sounds like a slam dunk with the candida thing. Just even when you say it starts off great in the morning, it gets worse throughout the day,
Yeah.
that's a candida symptom.
I
Um,
stopped drinking milk and like there's red spots that was underneath my eyes. They disappeared.
oh, underneath, like on the skin, on your
Yeah.
cheeks,
Yep.
like a flush, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
yeah, yeah. So that flush can actually be. So here's the fun thing: candida creates the same toxin that alcohol creates, and so it eats alcohol and then overproduces, but then it will actually create symptoms of like having too much alcohol, which can just be like for like even like the Asian flush is a thing, but it can
Right.
stress the liver and then cause like our blood to or like basically get a flush. Our I'm not saying this well. Our blood vessels to dilate in our cheeks and it'll create like a flush look.
Oh, right. Yeah. No,
So
there were some spots like red spots. They're
red
gone.
spots. Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like in the camera, but
Yeah. Our cameras are not that good, unfortunately. Maybe
right. No, I got to
fortunately.
work.
I can't.
Yeah.
You've got great skin. No.
Yeah. Thank you. It's stuff I
Uh,
do in the morning. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I would really look into candida because if candida is going on, I don't know if you've heard me say candida is there's a hierarchy of pathogens. It's a low hierarchy pathogen. It overgrows when it's able to, and we all have
Yes.
candida in us
You
at all
talked
times.
about it in 140. You talked
Yeah,
about it.
I think I
That's
must
where
have
I
just
fast
talked
forwarded
about
ahead. I
it.
was like, I got your email. I'm like, oh, check this out. So
Beep,
anyway,
beep.
we talked
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
no,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so it's what is it? There's candida, sorry, I got distracted. But all that being
Okay.
said, yeah, you big sign of having candida, and we want to know why you have it. Is there H. pylori? Deal with it. Is there low stomach acid? Deal with it. And
Well,
there's
we
all
know
this.
it's not
So,
H. pylori because I had that test.
oh, you asked the $20 question. That's not a question, but it's I'll treat it like a question. So I
Oh,
have had so many clients, like dozens, get H. pylori tests at a conventional hospital, and then we do a
yes.
test with the GI map, and it tests positive.
Oh.
There's two reasons for this. Number one, the GI map is more sensitive. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, this I actually think probably plays a bigger part. Um, I've never seen you could tell me if you're wrong. Most conventional tests that I've seen for H. pylori either say positive or negative. Do you remember if that's
That's
what?
it.
Yeah,
That's
positive or
it.
negative. Well, it doesn't tell you. You could actually have some H. pylori in there, but it's the
Below
conventional
the
doctors
threshold.
have decided that that amount they don't think is causing a problem. That doesn't mean it's not causing a problem. And there's science behind this. Like one of the problems is that we've done studies of like wide swaths of population, and we found that you can have a lot of people who have H. pylori with no symptoms, but we also have found that H. pylori does cause symptoms. So it's like
Yeah.
people basically, to me, that says it can live symbiotically with you, or under the radar, like your immune system's taking care of it. But kind of like Candida, if something really intense happens, it might overgrow or it
hmm
might become more virulent. And we know that happens there. It changes its strains, it changes to your environment of your body, which we know really got intense in December 2022.
Yeah.
So I would say if you ever deal with Candida, always deal with the H. pylori. And
Okay.
because I don't feel like that's a slam dunk, not going on, I'd still say it's on the table until the GI map says otherwise. And it
Sounds
might
good.
not be a component, in which case I would start to look at your stomach acid levels in your gut by
Okay.
doing a little baking soda test.
I did that.
And
Did you see
oh,
that
I
or
didn't
no?
see it.
Yeah. The numbers were 18 seconds, a minute 40, so 100 seconds, and then 42 seconds. So
Okay, so you're on
probably
the
around 40,
faster end.
50. Okay.
It's still possible. Did you do the zinc tally test at all?
What, maybe
I
I
think that's
the other
something
one, your yeast test thing that I took the questionnaire, you said probable for yeast. That's
yeah.
what the spit
Okay.
out was.
That was one of the big things. Yeah, okay. Here I looked at some of your results, but it was earlier today, so I just apologize.
No, no worries.
Um,
Thank you. But thank you so much for spending time. I mean, my gosh, I've been looking forward to this for a couple weeks.
oh, it's so much fun. And it's so important, and you feel a little bit less crazy.
Yes.
That is our goal, is to less crazy making. I wonder if you didn't submit it, because
Oh,
sometimes you can put it in and then if you don't click the button submit, because I don't see it, but it's fine.
it
You
wouldn't
told
be the
me.
first time.
That's okay. So you told me your results. You have signs of your stomach acid being fine, and it's possible your H. pylori literally just overgrew with this like one thing that happened, and we could do some liver support. But like I said, I'm thorough with Candida because I have a lot of clients who also get like relapse Candida, and that's
Oh,
also just not fun. So I love that you're getting cranial. That's right up the alley with anything you want to do with helping Candida, because it'll help make sure if your gut is having any motility problems due to like residual fight flight, that stuff's so helpful. It's so helpful. So keep getting cranial. That's my shorthand. Cranial. There you go.
yep. Got it.
Get those testing. And I'd be happy to do that testing with you in our foundations program. I'd be happy to guide you through this, or I could upload all these recommendations to your portal and you can work with somebody else you want to find, or you would have to
Yeah.
find someone to order those tests. But
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I'd love to talk to someone about the foundation program and see how it sort of works in with
yeah,
everything. Because why not go for it?
you can talk to me. I'm your person.
Sweet.
So let's do that. Hey, friend, I hope you loved today's podcast. If you want to get my eyes on your health just like Eric and get my top tips for what you can do to get breakthrough in your health, then the Unstuck session is for you. Prior to your Unstuck session, you can upload any and all labs you want to discuss. I have you fill out my high-powered intake forms to help accelerate our conversation, and then we jump on a 45-minute call where we dive into your health, what's been going on, when it started, and you walk away with 3 to 5 action steps that will help you get to your health breakthrough so you can stop being or feeling stuck and you can start feeling better. So if you are ready for an Unstuck session with me, just go to betterbellytherapies.com/unstuck or click the link in the show notes. Again, that's betterbellytherapies.com/unstuck or click the link in the show notes. Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.